All right. It is 6:31. It is May 25th. It is Wednesday. Hump day. It's been a week already, huh? Hopefully everyone's feeling well. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer. This is the 6:30 Club, where I go over what the media is obsessing about, a little bit of where the indices are, where the backbone of the market is, what kind of composure are we in, what type of risk, maybe a few setups to make some money, and we just pretty much get prepared for the day, especially if you do this actively for a living. So what I like to do also is say hello to my dogs around the world. While I do so, I'll post my little chart of the spies so everyone can see where we are, and let's get going. What up, Connecticut? How you doing? What up, New Jersey? Good morning, Caracas. There you go. How's it going, my friend? We got Queens in the house. Hats over hearts, yes, for Texas. You know, I know everyone is very testy when you talk about situations like that. I'm just saying, it's so friggin' upsetting. You know, there's no one answer to all the unnecessary shooting of innocent people. It's mental illness, it's maybe background checks, it's Washington, it's parents, it's everything. You know, so I just don't even want to get into that because I could rant for hours, and that's not what this is for, except for it's fucking upsetting. Anyway, good morning, Miami. How you doing? You know, so it's thoughts and prayers until it's, you know, closer to home. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Prayers around the world. A lot of negative news out there. We're not, you know, we're definitely in some kind of vortex, if you want to say, about everything that's going on. You know, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the innocent lives getting killed out there, the decimation of some of these stocks, you know, that have literally been 70 to 90% off highs. Some of them never deserve to be up there, but some of them don't deserve to be down where they are. And I do feel like, you know, people are kind of feeling it out there. And if you're feeling it out there, do something that makes you happy. You know, go for a run, go for a jog, play with your dog, play chess, eat something you want to eat, sweat it out. I like to sweat it out. That's what I did this morning. I did 500 reps in my sauna. I sweat out probably 3-4 pounds of water. Thank goodness it was water, not wine, because I try not to drink anymore Monday through Thursday, and get my mind ready for the day, because these days have been complicated. You know, the trend has been down. There's been potholes in stocks everywhere. You know, and although the market is trying to muster an oversold bounce, you almost feel like, you know, just a matter of time before we make lower lows as the Fed needs to raise rates, you know, at least 2 more times. But the message is getting a little more dovish, just a little more dovish. So maybe that will be a little bit helpful. But again, we'll see. It's hard to get too excited about the tape right here. You know, Alexa off. So if you happen to be, you know, trading the market, you just got to really make sure, you know, you have your process and plan, and you don't get frustrated, and you don't just do things you shouldn't do, because it'll cost you money. And no need to cost yourself money through frustration. Okay. If you look here at the chart of the S&P cash, you know, or the spies, you know, on Friday we made a low at 380.53. It did have a little bit of a scary feel as Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, a lot of them made lower lows. But what does that mean? Does that mean there's a little bit of relief? I don't know. All I know is, you know, tried a little bit, little risk on Monday, and then yesterday, obviously, you had the Snap news, and they brought down tech. But ultimately, we're still in the slower range. So at this point, the spies are up 7 cents. Maybe we get a little inside action. You know, the question is it worth playing an oversold bounce if we get an oversold bounce, you know, towards the 405 area or a little higher? Or, you know, are we just going to use the weekly chart and say, hey, you know what, at this point, you know, let's just keep the powder dry and wait, because, you know, here we are. The low is about 10% off the highs in the S&P. I mean, sorry, 20%. Didn't mean that. Which was the same, the taper tantrum of 2018. But if you think of the annihilation of some of these individual names and some of the growth stocks and some of the sectors, like, you know, you would say, well, how could this only be the corrective phase of 2022? How could we not go a little bit lower? But it's only May. We have a lot of year left. You have 2 more Fed meetings, and at least they're changing their tone a little bit. You still have oil that's been hanging out there, you know, in the 105, 110 range. You still have a lot of geopolitical messes out there. So we'll take it as it comes. Just you have to know your time frame. Midterm, just put your flows in. Or mid long term. But if you trade for a living, just know what you can handle and know if the trade is worth it. So some guys like, hey, did you see what happened with energy yesterday? At least energy, held in there. So, if you do look at the XLE, which has been really, really strong, you could look at the chart here. Question is, does it make another move? Okay, the XLE has been hanging out here. It's above the 8 and 21-day, strong. If you read my 8 and 21-day ebook, that's what you try and have on as a swing trade until it changes. I actually am long Chevron, and the question here is, can Chevron make another move into highs? But this first parabolic move went to like 174. It was fast and furious when people weren't really looking for it. And then now you've been consolidating pretty much February, March, April, almost 4 months up here. So that means someone's accumulating it up here for potentially another move. So if you wanted to be long Chevron, I'm long Chevron. I have to say it's at least defined. You could put your stop at 169. If it gets and stays above 173.55, perhaps it clears 175 and you get another momentum type move. All I know is, back in the day, like a year and a half ago, or wherever it was, you had so many different types of setups where you could be in tier 1 and then it gets through an area, you can get to tier 2 and then it has a full breakout and goes for multiple days, and all of a sudden 3-4 day move, you make a lot of money and you could be in 10 or 15 of them. It's just not the case now. Sometimes, it's just not the way it is. Different types of cycles, different types of sequences. People like Red Dog, you've been bearish on Tesla this past few weeks, and how come you not having a bromance with Elon Musk? I'm like, well, if you read my 8 and 21-day book, Elon's a genius when Tesla's above the 8 and 21-day, and when it's below the 8 and 21-day, he's a little eccentric, he's a little wonky, and he needs to be controlled. But it's just a joke. But the bottom line is, if you look at Tesla, tale of two different sequences, right? If you look here, this is when we made a lot of money in March. That was the active sequence to the upside. When it broke above this 840, went to 1152. That was a fantastic move. That was when there was momentum. That was when it was above the 8 and 21 day. That was when tech was acting better. But then things change, right? How do you recognize when things change? Well, here you had a Red Dog reversal, made its third lower high, high, lower high, lower high. Then it had a solid report that they sold. And then right here, 973, it broke all the moving averages. And a lot of people made money short that day. And that's also when this whole Twitter fiasco started to happen. So lo and behold, last week we made some money short. Now I'm just, I have nothing, I have no interest in Tesla right here. I'm just watching it for sentiment. I posted the weekly chart. On the weekly chart, it kind of looks like we're going to be seeing somewhere in this 500 area. How does it get there? I'm not sure. What's Tesla doing today? Let's see. Tesla is it's up 34 cents, up a whole 34 cents. That just shows you how things change in the market so fast. And you need to change. You need to know how to change. Some are saying, Red Dog, what do you think about Apple? Hold on. Let's get to the forum. At this point, I'm kind of thinking, like, I actually made really good money short Apple about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago when it broke 153, when it broke this ascending channel. I haven't really been long since. I've been watching it for direction of the indices and the day. But to me, does it feel like it can get to 115? Well, if the S&P is going to get to 3,600, chances are Apple's going to get towards 115. But it's going to have to break below 132 for that to happen. I would have to think that with China closed for 7 weeks and over 20% of the revenues of Apple come from Asia or China, that no one's buying iPhones. And if you think about all the free money that went out during the pandemic here, didn't free money go everywhere? People bought their devices or did whatever, and now that's not happening. So I would think that their quarter's not going to be great, and obviously they do a dividend and a buyback, so it's, one counteracts another. But I do think we could see this area, and until we see this area, it's going to be hard for the S&P and the SPYs to have a really big type of bounce. NVIDIA comes out with numbers after the close. So people like, can NVIDIA go lower? Well, if you guys remember with NVIDIA, I talked about how it broke trend months ago. Right here, you had a Red Dog reversal sell, broke below the prior low, below all the moving averages around 250. And I remember drawing this 140 area, and people like, you're out of your mind. It's NVIDIA. NVIDIA can't get to 140. It's NVIDIA. Kramer's dog is named NVIDIA. I'm like, I don't give a frick what Kramer's dog's name, but either which way it broke below. So I don't know. Will the report be that bad that it could, get hit again? I'm not, I wouldn't be long or short into it. If anything, with earnings reports, I just take options because in binary events, anything could happen. So, if you're thinking it's going to go lower, maybe put on a put spread. If you're thinking it's going to go higher, maybe put on a call spread. It'll probably dictate what tech does tomorrow. A lot of people didn't think, Netflix could make lower lows, right? Everyone's like, well, dude, just Netflix was 700, when it lost the extended channel, then the bear flag. And right here, I think was when it came out with numbers, like there's no way. It's already been cut in half. Well, it got cut in half again. So, so everyone's like, oh, but it's Netflix. Okay, but here, I know it, but it's Netflix, but now it's but Netflix here. Same thing with, Amazon. Like Amazon, it's got a whole 2671. It's Amazon. Okay, no, it doesn't. And Amazon went as low as below 2049. It might even still head a little bit lower, even though it has a split. And then, Snapchat. Snapchat was what, 70, 80% off the highs and was still able to go down 45% yesterday. A lot of people lost a lot of money. Look at that. But again, if you look at the actual chart, long-term charts, I like to look back at long-term charts so you can see when the trends changed. Here it was above the 821 day. I remember being involved in this. It was on my virtual trading floor for a while, like long, massaging it. Right here, you had a breakout failure. Right here, lost the 821 day, and then tried to bounce and couldn't do it again. And you would have thought that it was kind of safe. Sorry, why isn't this coming in? Kind of safe, looking to buy a dip, but then every dip wound up bouncing and breaking to all of a sudden here, where now if you go to the daily chart, look at that hole in the chart. Went down to 1255. And by the way, if pro gaps like this don't get filled, that means people don't think it's cheap, and it usually gives you clues of the next direction. But snap to slap, yeah, they slapped the hell out of it. But a lot of stocks like that. You go to ARK, very similar. You got to, ARK looked as if it was, didn't make what's it called, a lower low at the S&P last week, and now all of a sudden you had this inside range break to the downside. And there's been so many, just bearish sequences. And if you go to the weekly chart, and if you take a really look at it and you know how to read charts, like, okay, wow, look at this ascending channel that broke. Okay, that was one sell signal. Here, it was above the 821 the entire time, and then broke right there. And then if you sold it into the strength, you're like, let me try it in here. I sold 140s. I could try it here at 117, and then it broke the moving averages again. And if you look at the 8-day, it's below the 8-day this entire time on the weekly. Here, it's riding in and above, strong momentum, put it on. Here, below, tested a few times, but until it gets above and stays above, you got to avoid. You can't use your opinions. You got to use your technicals. But the Qs on the weekly. What's it trying to do here? It's I don't know. What was the low? The low here was 280-ish. My target was 276. Lots of down weeks. Lots of down weeks. That's why people are thinking, hey, maybe there could be some kind of counter trend move, but it just hasn't happened yet. All right. So again, let's see what's happening here a little bit. What are the spies doing? I feel like everyone's just in such a bad mood. There's so much just negative, crappy headlines out there. The banks. Okay, the banks. The reason why we had that oversold bounce was because JP Morgan said there are storm clouds, but not tsunamis. Okay, so that's good news now. There aren't tsunamis, just rain clouds, if that makes any sense. So yes, if you go to the daily chart, there was a way to buy the dip in JP Morgan yesterday. I'm actually along a little Citigroup, but I'm not really expecting such huge things. Citigroup, if you look here, Buffett on his last Berkshire whatever meeting said, they were long it, so all of a sudden it's had a decent sequence. It's going sideways. If you wanted to be long Citigroup, maybe you could be long versus 48. I did buy some yesterday, and if the market wants to have some kind of broken bounce or bear market bounce, this does look like it can go a little bit higher. It's now above the moving averages. We'll see if there is an active sequence here. JP Morgan, you could have bought it also. It went right to green, and here was your low. This was the rally on Monday, and then on Tuesday, if you went to buy a dip there instead of in tech, at least you got paid there. At least there was a little bit of money that was showing some commitment to a prior day. Traders need like some kind of continuity. Traders like me need some kind of muscle memory. If something's strong an hour prior and you get a pullback, you want to be able to buy something that was strong an hour before or the day before and see if there's some kind of continuity. At least there was some continuity to Monday's move on Tuesday, and et cetera, et cetera. Could it be a short squeeze to the 50-day? It could, which isn't much higher. So at this point, you do have the XLE still trending. You have a little bit of life in the banks, and tech has been a big lag, big lag. Like if you look here, you have 2 points of reference, 280 and 288 now. You're below the 8-day. Maybe they try and do some kind of cute move, but it's hard to tell. Energy, cheapy play, rig, sporting inverse head and shoulders pattern. That's a cheap one. IWM, SPY is weak. Yeah. Listen, a lot of these things trade by appointment. Most things are weak. I think the narrative is that the next quarter or two are going to be really hard, especially with the comparables. Until you get really bad news and the stocks go up on bad news, it's not going to be like they're washed out and you've had that. We've been in a raging bull market for over a decade or so, and I know things have been battered and bruised, but the indices haven't really been. So until the indices really, I guess, do the true washout, we're going to be grinding along. And when you're grinding along, not every day means something. The day means something to your P&L and to your life if you take your trade and you don't go back to it. If you net money and you know what you're doing, and just every day is just a different type of day. And not every day is a blockbuster day. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, check out NUTX. I don't think I've ever put that up. I'll put that up for you. NUTX. Yeah, it's a little stock. I have no idea what it is, but it's above the 8 and 21 days. Someone got excited somewhere there. If I would just use my naked eye, it's coming into a downtrend right here where it could pop. I know nothing about it. I just put it up because you said put it up. What else? Someone asked me if I could put up Amazon. Wow, Amazon had it also in March. In March, there was at least a nice sequence for 2 weeks where you could have been long some things, and now all of a sudden, it broke here. You had your bear flag, and now, is this a double bottom in Amazon? It's hard to tell. Listen, Walmart, Target, decimated. I would think that Amazon is not going to have a great quarter, maybe not a great 2 quarters, and yes, the stock split's coming soon. If you put long-term money to work in Amazon here, long-term money, does it probably work in the quarters or years ahead? Probably, but it's not all or none. Someone from Fox Business called me and said, hey, can you buy Amazon before the split right here? I'm like, you could probably buy some, right? The stock was as high as 3,700. So down here near 2030, okay, buy some. But if the S&P is going to 3,600 or below, you'll be able to buy more lower. If it's not, let's say because everyone thinks it is, and if it doesn't, then you want to start with some. So I use a tier system. It's not all or none. Maybe you map out levels to buy. Like when my wife's blood in the street account, I put 25% in. A lot of people are like, what do you do with your wife's blood in the street account? Well, I put 25% in into this prior move, like 17% off lows. Off highs. I'm sorry. I am not putting any more of that money into the market until here, if it gets there. And then that's only 2 tiers. I'll have 2 more left, and then I'll wait. And then finally, when it really feels like it's working, I'll add for the turn, and then I get out when the market makes new highs. It could take a long time. Here, I did that, and I carved out a nice 10, 12% for her. Here, I did that, and I carved out like 18% for her. And I'm looking to see, I started here, and I'll see if I could do that again. Sometimes it's shorter term, sometimes it takes years. But if you don't have something like that, then just put your monthly flows in every single month. These type of time periods will help your average cost over time. Okay, and if you trade actively for a living, just be careful. Don't have FOMO on the long or the short side, and say to yourself, maybe even before the trade, is this worth it? Is it a good setup? Is it a high probability play? And if it's not, you know what, doesn't deserve your trading capital or your brain capital. These are the times where you need to conserve your brain capital and your trading capital, so this way you don't turn into a stress ball and become a fraction of yourself, and then all of a sudden you're not thinking clearly and you can't execute on anything you've executed on. I know a bunch of traders now already that had a 4x, 5x of their best year, during the pandemic, and they went out and bought another car, they bought out another house, and this and that, and then all of a sudden they raised their nut 2x, and now they're making, not that year, not even what they made the decade prior to the good year, and they're pushing the trade, they're getting themselves frustrated, and chances are, they're not going to be in the business much longer. So don't let that be you. And if you want to watch Charlie the Carrot Chaser video, I'll post it. It's a very good video, especially considering if you're like, oh, this is too hard for me to stay with. You know what? Every industry goes through a tough time. Every market has a cycle, whether it's housing, whether it's cannabis, whether it's crypto, whether it's the market, whether it's being a lawyer or a doctor. So anyway, stay the course. Learn your craft. Develop a process. Have a routine you love, because you got to do it every day. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'll see you soon.